1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 mic check. 1 2 1 2.
It's working now.
Yeah, it's working. 1 2 1 2 mic check. What's up, Odoers? My name is Earl, and I'm glad you could join us to our webinar this day. Have you ever worked in a place where everything is fragmented? You have a software for everything? Well, at Vector Velo, we have gone through that pain, and now we have transitioned into Odoo, and I just want to share some of the insights of the things we have learned from Odoo. Hope you will join us from the beginning to the end of this meeting. So this will be our presentation for this day. This is our webinar master production schedule. Master production schedule using Odoo manufacturing and purchase apps to streamline your operations. My name is Earl, and I'm a business analyst. I work with French projects and English projects across Africa. So for our webinar today, we are going to talk about Odoo, the software. We're going to talk about first principles of the master production schedule, and then we will have 2 demos where I will take you through how to utilize the MPS inside the application to streamline our operations. And then we'll have a Q&A session at the end where we get to interact together. Welcome aboard. So what is Odoo? Odoo is your one in all management software where you manage your business from a modular and an integrated system. Think about it. Instead of having software for every operation that you do in your business, how about just having a platform where all applications are integrated? So for example, in Odoo, you have applications like CRM, your sales, your purchases, and your inventory, all these applications talking to each other so that you have a nice and a neat solution. Your business does not have to be chaos, but it can run like a well-oiled machine. So that is basically what Odoo is. Now at Vector Velo, we have been using the master production schedule to meet our market demands. What is a master production schedule? It is basically a detail of the items that you need in order to meet market demands. At Vector Velo, we build a lot of bicycles. So we build bicycles and we also resell bicycles based on market demands, and we use a lot of data to actually determine what these demands are. Now, we do not want to have stockouts. We do not want to have inconsistencies in our stock. So the master production schedule is what we use. But up to this point, we have been using it on whiteboard markers, and someone else has to go and make procurements. So we have currently moved into Odoo, and I'm just going to show you how the transformation has been for us. So I'm just going to show you in a slide how a master production schedule basically looks like. So you have it here where you have periods. It's divided into periods, and you have gross requirements, scheduled receipts, and all these are the lines. And of course, it is based on what products you're delivering and what are the lead times from your suppliers. This is basically how it looks like, and it is a tough thing to work with. And sometimes you can have inefficiencies because it is a hand process, and someone else has to come and do the rest of the purchase orders and the manufacturing orders. However, with Odoo, we've been able to streamline our process, and that is basically what we are going to show in this demo. How we use our master production schedule to create purchase orders so that we order our items in time so that none of our customers have to miss any of their deliveries. So I'm just going to go into my fresh database and I'm going to demonstrate how this is done and how this works for us. So we have about 90 applications in Odoo, but for this call, we're just going to focus on purchase, inventory, and also manufacturing. First things first, for me to access my master production schedule, I'll go to manufacturing, and then I'll go to configuration, and I'll go to settings. This is basically all you have to do before you start. So down here, you will see under planning, I have master production schedule. And remember, an MPS has schedule, has periods, and it also has lines of how you meet your demands. So I'm going to set up weekly. Other businesses will run on yearly, monthly, or daily, but for us, we will work on weekly. I want to save those changes. And then the next thing I want to do is to configure the products that we are buying so that we can resell in our country. I'll go to products, and then I'll create a bicycle variant. So we have a bicycle internally, which we call Bravo Romeo Juliet bicycle. That's just the phonetic alphabet. And this is a road bike, so that's the name. And remember, it's a good, and of course we do invoicing based on delivered quantities. On hand, I always want to start with a quantity on hand, because this is a crucial aspect for our MPS. So we have 350 units on hand. And then the other crucial part will be the purchases tab, where I'll come and select the vendor who sells me this bicycle. And this is my bicycle supplier, and he sells me one quantity, and one quantity goes for 1,500 per unit. But now, as we configure our vendor price list in Odoo, we also want to put in our lead times. So usually it gets me 2 weeks before I get these bicycles. So there you have it. And this product is well configured. I can save it. And now the next step is for us to go to the master production schedule, add this product, and see how the replenishment is done. I'd just like to make a status point here that this is basically what we are using. So we are trying to replicate the same master production schedule in Odoo. And then so this is basically what we have on hand, have done by hand, but we want to see what items we will end up with. So as you have been following, we have our beginning inventory of 350, and then we have the different periods, and you have the different market demands during the periods. And then you see down here the amounts that need to be ordered and when they need to be ordered. So let's go back to our DB and let us try to replicate the same. So I'll go back to my database, and now I'll go to planning, and I'll go to master production schedule, and you can see it's new, fresh, nothing has been done before. So I'll go to add a product, and I will add my Bravo Romeo Juliet bicycle. That's a BRJ. And then the route, of course, is that we buy this bicycle so that we resell. Safety stock, I want to keep it at 0 because we do not want to fill up our warehouse. So I'm just going to save it. And just like that, we have our MPS manufacturing master production schedule ready for use. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to fill in the forecasted demands. Already you see we already have our forecasted stock, which is 350, already filled out during the week, during the periods. So what I just need to fill in the MPS is the forecasted demand. Now, according to my table, that's the table I'm using. During the second period, I'm about to receive 150. So sometimes you also input replenishment orders which have been forecasted manually, but for the MPS, the other orders will be inputted automatically. So let's do it together. So for the first period, I have a demand of 110. Already you can see that the figures are changing. For the second week, we have 145, and you can see how the figures keep on changing. We have 228, we have 450. And then I'm going to skip the fifth period because there's no forecasted demand for that period. And then we have 154, we have 227, and then we have, I'm going to skip week 9 or the 9th period, and I'm going to have lastly 300. And just like that, you see that we need to have, according to the forecasted demand and according to the replenishment orders that are there, what are the forecasted stocks? What are the forecasted stocks? In other words, when we meet our demands, what are we going to be left with during the different periods in our workshop? So I'm just going to go ahead and create purchase orders based on this master production schedule. I'm going to click on order, so I can click it here or I can click it right here. So if I click, already one purchase order has been created. And I just want to see how this one looks like before I proceed with the rest. So I'm just going to leave manufacturing and go to my purchase app. And once there, you can see I have a clean purchase order already created based on my MPS or master production schedule. Once I enter inside, you see that I have a quantity of 150, but the crucial part, remember, is the order deadline is Dec 1st, so that we receive it by December 15th. And that is the main point of the master production schedule. What quantities you need, when you need them, and so what product you need, what quantities you need, and when do you need them. So you can see already a purchase order has been created whose deadline was December 1st. Expected arrival is in 14 days. So already you see the purchase order has been created. So I'm just going to go back to my master production schedule so that I create purchase orders for the rest. I'll go back to manufacturing, and then I go to planning, and I go to master production schedule. So I want to create the rest. So here you see there is different orders, forecasted demands of 145, 228, 450, 154, 227, and 300. So I'm just going to click on order. So let's go to order, 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 order. And just like that, our purchase orders have been created based on the expected lead times and quantities. So to see the purchase orders, I'm just going to go out of manufacturing, and I'm going to go into the purchase app. And just like that, you see that I have purchase orders from number 1 to number 5. So if I go to number 2, you'll see that there is a quantity of 433. Expected order deadline is December 15th to arrive in 14 days. That's December 29th. And just like that, it's been created. And if we go to the previous ones, so number 3 is the same thing, 154, and you can see how the lead times and the quantities have been filled automatically. So that's just that. That's how to use the master production schedule to fulfill your purchase orders. But now let's take it a little further. Sometimes we need to fill in our master production schedule based on our manufacturing orders. Remember, at Vector Velo, we have 2 lines of bicycles which we buy to resell, and then we also have bicycles which we manufacture ourselves. Now, here, it basically means that there are components that we have to buy so that we start our manufacturing orders. So I'll take you back to our slides, and then we will have a little review. So here at Vector Velo, we use Odoo's master production schedule just to fulfill our manufacturing orders, just like we did with our purchase orders. So when it comes to manufacturing, it gets a little complex, and the master production schedule gets longer because there are 3 levels to manufacturing. You have the final bike assembly. So this will be our Delta Romeo Juliet bicycle. And then for you to make the final assembly, you will need sub-assemblies. In this case, you'll have the frame set, the cockpit and controls, wheel system, drivetrain and braking, and also seating. But for you to have the sub-assemblies, you will have to have the individual components. And so that said, we usually have 3 levels of MPSs. So we have level 2, level 1, and level 0. Now, the way this MPS is generated is by starting with level 0 MPS, and then go to level 1 MPS, and then level 2 MPS. So for this bicycle to be constructed, we must have manufacturing orders for level 1 sub-assemblies, and we must have purchase orders for level 2 components. So as a point of view, this is basically how our MPSs look like. So if creating the master production schedule for just purchase orders was tedious, you can trust me that creating for manufacturing orders is more tedious. So you have your level 0, your level 1, and you also have your level 2 master production schedule. But when we're using the Odoo MPS, we do not have to go through the trouble, luckily. So we'll go back to our database where I'll show you exactly how we do that. So I'll go back to our database and I'll leave the purchases and I'll go to manufacturing. Once in manufacturing, I go to products and I go to products. Luckily for me, for this webinar, we've already set up our database. We've already set up our products because that is going to take too long, but I can explain to you how it's done. So this is my Delta Romeo Juliet bicycle. Once I click inside, you'll see that it has a bill of materials. Now this bill of materials is made up of sub-assemblies, and those sub-assemblies have components which make up the assembly. So I'm just going to go out of the bicycle and I'm going to go to one of the sub-assemblies. For example, if we look at the drivetrain and braking, you'll see that this is also a sub-assembly and it has a bill of materials. Once I go into the bill of materials, I find it there, and you see that for me to make a drivetrain and braking sub-assembly, I'll need 1 drivetrain and I'll need 2 brakes. And based on these quantities, they will finally end up in the final master production schedule. So once I leave there, I'll see that I also have the component levels, for example, tires, tubes, and also frames. So I'll just go back to my Delta Romeo Juliet bike. And once I go to my bill of materials and I check out this bill of materials, you'll see that there is a frame set, there is a cockpit, there's a wheel system, and there's a drivetrain and braking, and there's also a seating. I can have an overview of it by going to the BOM overview, where I will see that this is a bike, that's a full assembly. And then here, these items which have arrows, this is where you find the sub-assembly, and inside you find the components that make up the bicycle. But enough chit-chat, and let us see how to create manufacturing orders for this bicycle. So I'm just going to go to planning, and I'll go to master production schedule, and then I'll add a product, and this time it's my Delta Romeo Juliet bike. That's my road bike, and then of course I want to select its bill of materials, which is DRJ road bike. And then what's the route? We don't buy these bicycles, we manufacture. So I select the route, and just like we had it in our purchase orders, we do not want to keep things in stock. Our space is too small. So I will just save it and watch the magic. And just like that, you see that I not only have one product, but I have all the sub-assemblies included, because for me to make this bicycle, I'll need to have all the sub-assemblies ready. And just so that we are together, so that we are doing the same thing, this is basically what I will basically work with these quantities. For the bicycles that I have to deliver, I will work with these quantities, and then you'll see how it fills the rest of the MPSs. So I'll just fill the MPS for the for the DRJ road bike, and then see how it affects the rest. So let's go back to our database, and let's fill week 1. I want a forecasted demand of 110. And then week 2, I want 145. And then week 3, I want 228. And just like that, as you may have noticed, you already see that the MPS for the other sub-assemblies are actually filling themselves. So you don't have to go one by one. You just need to fill in the full assembly, and the other sub-assemblies get filled. So let's continue with the line. So this is 228, this is 450, and then this is 154, and this is 227, and this is 300. And just like that, for doers, we have our MPS, both for the final assembly and for the other sub-assemblies done. So what I will do, I'll just click on order, and just like that, now instead of creating purchase orders, we have our manufacturing orders ready. Where do I see these manufacturing orders? I'll go to manufacturing. I'm still in manufacturing. Go to operations and go to manufacturing orders. And just like that, you already see that there are manufacturing orders which are past their dates. So I'll go to, we can start from the first one. You can see that here I needed to make cockpit and controls, and these are the items that were needed. And of course, we cannot start manufacturing unless these items are available. And that is why you see that it's not available, so we cannot start this manufacturing order, but they have already been lined up. Remember, for our manufacturing orders, we have a manufacturing lead time for 7 days. So here you can see that schedule date was November 24, so that it would be finished by this week. And so this is basically one. This is another. And so these are the sub-assemblies before we start building the entire bike. And so you see, for the bike, we are waiting for the sub-assemblies to be finished before we build the bike. And just like that, we have created our manufacturing orders with and it has been a seamless process. It less prone to mistakes, less prone to human error. I'll go back to my planning, master production schedule, and I can create the rest of the manufacturing orders so that they will be in the system. And once I'm ready to carry them out, I'll just come and see what is ready to be carried out at what time. So I'm just going to click on order, 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 order. So those are the manufacturing orders for my bicycle. But before you start manufacturing your bicycle, you will need to do all these other sub-assemblies. So that's it, Oduas, in terms of how to use master production schedule just to create purchase orders and manufacturing orders. And it has been a good journey, and I'd like to thank you for your attendance. Looking forward to the questions. Yeah. Let's go to the questions. Are there any questions on the part?
Okay, nice.
20 minutes, right? 22 minutes.